Good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder and this is BRN AM for Monday, March 9th, 2020. Here are our top stories. We'll talk about buying versus renting. How do you decide? And we'll take a closer look at the status of the New York City real estate market. Joining me now is Damon Kennard. He's a real estate agent with Douglas Elliman based in New York City. Hi, Damon. Welcome back. Welcome to the program, I should say.
Hey, Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. So, we talk a lot on this program about saving. We talk about real estate. And I really wanted to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak, about the differences about the real estate market. But I wanted to start with the old adage about buying versus renting. And I know you have a particular expertise in this. So how do you see it?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I just notice with people that when I'm speaking with them is that they tend to take a rather limited view about when they're comparing the costs between buying versus renting. They look at their monthly outlay for what would be to rent and how much it would be to buy, and then they kind of, whichever one is lower is the cheapest. But I'm recommending to people that I work with that we take more of a longer term view in terms of assessing those costs. You have to account for appreciation. You have to account for the equity that you're building up in your property as well. So for instance, very quickly, if you take a 10-year period, let's say, and even if you suffer a net loss of $100,000 over that 10-year period, you've essentially spent on average $10,000 a year. So that's going to be a lot cheaper. I don't know where you can find an apartment for $10,000 a year in New York City, but I can assure you that it's not easy.
Yeah, I would imagine. And I do want to talk a little bit about the real estate market in general. Maybe we'll save that for segment 2. But just real quick, I mean, when a lot of people watching this around the country and around the globe, they think of New York real estate, they're thinking about $1 Million Listing or one of these, fixer-upper programs, but fixer-upper shows, I should say, not necessarily programs on HGTV or something. But it's not really like that, right? I mean, people don't walk in with just all cash money deals, lay it on the table to you, Damon. Maybe they do, to buy a home. I mean, people tend to have mortgages or pay over a period of time, right?
Sure. You'd be surprised at actually how accurate a lot of those shows are. I mean, the time frames are obviously sped up tremendously. I have yet to close a deal in an hour. I actually worked with one client for 3 years before we actually ended up making a purchase. So the actual process of real estate and identifying a property when you're working with buyers, it can take a long time. But, egos get involved. Brokers oftentimes don't like each other. People spend money and they expect a discount for paying in cash. Mm-hmm. And you have people squabbling over, I actually lost a deal over about $25,000 difference between both sides. And the deal didn't go through because neither side wanted to budge. They felt they had kind of budged enough. So those shows are actually pretty accurate, in my opinion. It's just the time frame doesn't really line up with reality.
And when you're meeting with a client, so let's say the average client, and they come to you and they say, Damon, we're looking for a 2-bedroom home. You literally have to take them. What's it like taking them around the city to find a property that they like? That as you're alluding to in your previous statement, that takes time to kind of figure out what the tastes, what people like. And in the go-go world of New York City real estate, I got to imagine, I mean, it's expeditious and tight time frame.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the fun part, to be honest, like going around and looking at apartments. What I actually try and do is really prepare the clients for the process, really getting them to have their paperwork in order, really understand what their buying potential is, making sure that they have pre-approval letters, not pre-qualification letters. They have to have pre-approval letters from a bank if they're going to finance. Just making sure that they have all their ducks in a row so that when we do identify that property, we can submit a competitive bid at a fair price and reassure the sellers that we are serious buyers that are looking to close on that property quickly. yeah, looking at wonderful views of the New York City skyline and water. That's the fun part. But that's where I come in. Is I'm a bit of a it's kind of like the personal trainer. I hold people accountable. I really like keep them on task. I keep them on point because time can really mean the difference between your dream apartment and the not so dream apartment.
Yeah, it sounds like you just kind of outlined a couple steps that I want to hit on. I think number one, you got to know as a family, as a couple, as a person, what you want, right? You got to have
Absolutely.
You got to have a budget that you want to stick to it and be realistic on the budget.
Yeah.
And then the other thing and I want to hear you talk on each of these is the letter saying that you are qualified, that you are qualified. That's important when you're in a very competitive, and we're in all around this country, a very tight home buying market, right?
Yeah. Well, yes and no, actually. In New York, we're bleeding a little bit, but in New York, actually, the market is skewing a little bit towards buyers.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of leverage there for buyers. We'll talk more about that later. But to get back to your question, yes, it's so crucial that you identify exactly what it is that you're looking for. You have to have your goals. I actually recommend to my buyers that you keep a written checklist of what you're looking for, because after the 10th, 12th, 15th property, they all tend to blend together. For the buyers. For me, I actually feel very comfortable, and I have a pretty good memory about that stuff, so I can again help people stay on track and remind them of what we saw. But for buyers, it's so important to just have a written record of what you saw, what you liked about a place, what you didn't like about a place, so that you can, when you go back, you can really keep it all in line and keep it all in track. So that's number one. And in terms of your preparation, so there's a pre-approval letter that banks give out, and there's a pre-qualification letter. The pre-qualification letter is pretty standard and easy to get. It just, you walk into a bank, you tell them how much you make, you tell them what you're kind of looking to spend. They do a very rough kind of estimation, and they give you a pre-qualification letter that gives a rough amount. The pre-approval letter is when they do a deeper examination of your finances to determine how much money they're actually willing to lend you for a purchase. And that is the letter that you want to show to potential sellers when you submit an offer, because that's the one that's serious. That one that says you have financing behind you to complete this purchase.
Yeah, and that would probably put you to the top of the line in terms
Absolutely.
of submitting a deal and getting the deal accepted. Last question, Damon, for this segment. We've got about a minute left. How has technology, and you've been at this game for a bit, for more than a bit, how has technology changed the way you do business as a real estate agent?
Oh, it giveth and it taketh away. It's wonderful, like from my side, to be able to access listings, knowing that the information is accurate. That's a big change from years past, where you're just not 100% sure if a listing is really accurate. So you're also able to reach more people. When I represent a seller, it's much easier to market to a much larger buying pool. So in that sense, it actually makes my job a lot easier. On the flip side, what I found is that you're also competing with your customer base, because everyone essentially has access to the same information. So you do have to kind of debate some customers as to where your value is and what value you have to offer. And of course, for me, the value is how we interpret that data. It's one thing to have a large swath of data, but to really interpret the data in order to really determine fair market value, that's when you need someone who lives with the numbers, not someone who just kind of dallies.
Yeah, and that's where your expertise. That's certainly where your expertise comes in. David, Absolutely. I want to hold you over for a minute. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Damon about the New York City real estate market. Really interesting. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Damon Kennard. He's a real estate agent with Douglas Elliman. Damon, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning.
Oh, again, my pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate, and I know the audience appreciates your insight into the buying process and buying versus renting and how technology can influence being part of decisions. But now I'd like to focus our attention, if I could, or your attention, if I could, to get your experience in the current New York State real estate market. I think that's, it's a big city. It's the biggest city in the world, or one of the biggest cities in the world, very popular. Give us your sense of the lay of the land today in New York City.
Yeah, so I touched on this earlier, and we're definitely in a bit of a buyer's market, at least at first glance. We're seeing a drop in the average price per square foot by about 6% from the previous year. We're seeing an increase in inventory by about 9%, and we're also seeing listing discounts by nearly 7%, which is pretty much near all-time lows in terms of how much less sellers are willing to take than what they're asking. However, at the same time, we're also seeing a bit of a tale of two markets, believe it or not, where prices above $5 million is a completely different market from prices below $5 million. The total number of sales for properties above $5 million actually dropped by about 37.5% from the previous year. But prices below that threshold actually increased by 1.2% from the previous year. And I know it's New York City, these are big numbers, but there's a significant sort of upper middle class buying pool in that below $5 million range versus the super high end, super wealthy luxury buyer above that mark. And that $5 million seems to be like the breaking point between the two.
David, there are a lot of different areas of the city. There's the financial district, right? There's near Hudson Yards. Can you tell us, for those who may not be familiar with New York City, what are some of the hottest markets from your perspective today where people just have to get in or are buying or are selling?
Oh, wow. That's pretty much all of Manhattan, to be honest.
Okay.
There's a lot of development going on. Um, so I would say one of the I think one of my favorite little niche markets that's has a lot of upside potential is actually what's called Nomad, which is north of Madison Square Park. It's right around sort of the east side of the city, just a little bit above 23rd Street, below 34th Street, around, I would say thereabouts, just south of kind of the Empire State Building, like that kind of area. There's a lot of potential there, and there's a lot of new development there as well. And of course, you mentioned Hudson Yards. That is an exceptional neighborhood. A ton of new development going in. It's right on the water, right near the Hudson River. So you're getting incredible water views. You're getting all new state-of-the-art construction with all the bells and whistles, amenities, pools, roof decks, just the full ride there. So that's a really hot neighborhood as well. And I'm a little biased. I will say that Harlem, where I live and I've been living for the past 12 years, is also a really, really great value right now. Again, new construction, a lot of protected views because the Harlem neighborhoods don't really allow many buildings to go up very tall. So you can still go pretty far uptown and still get some tremendous views and some great new construction buildings that are happening right here in Harlem.
Thanks, Damon. And I guess last question, and this is kind of a multi-point question, is international real estate. I mean, obviously New York is like the go-to place. How influential, or how are people coming in from out of the country to invest? And then the second part of that is, obviously we had this big scare going on. Has that dampened some of the international interest, if you will? Yeah,
that's a great question. Great couple of questions. So what actually is interesting is prior to what's been going on today, the Chinese government actually put very strict restrictions on how much money could leave the country. So a big part of the reason why the above $5 million threshold is dropping is because a lot of those buyers are unable to enter the market. That huge buyer pool of uber wealthy international investment has actually dried up. So a lot of these developers are kind of stuck right now with a lot of property, a lot of inventory right now. So that's where we're coming from an international perspective, is that the buyer pool for international buyers has kind of dried up on the super high luxury end.
Sure.
Now, conversely, or to your second question, I think that right now it's a little too early to tell how the virus is going to, or the news is today is going to affect the market. I'm not seeing personally, or any of my colleagues, we're not seeing buyers that are backing out of deals because of what's going on in the news. In fact, if anything, I think that people who might have missed out on the run that happened maybe 4 or 5 years ago are seeing this as a great opportunity to negotiate and maybe get more of a deal. So I don't think it's scaring buyers away just yet. But again, we won't really know for a couple of months, and when we see that second quarter report that sees how people's behavior has been affected by what's going on today.
Yeah, and I was thinking less about the health aspect of it, although that's certainly important, and more about the market volatility that we've seen. Yeah. Does market volatility and what the stock market does, how does that, and we've got about 45 seconds left, Damon. How does that impact and shape decisions that you're seeing people make? I mean, are they driven, but when it hits 29,000 or when it hits 25,000, does that drive decision making?
It doesn't, not for the active buyer, because the active buyer right now doesn't have their cash tied up in the stock market right now. Their money is ready to go to submit for closing costs, down payments, or even if they're doing a full cash purchase, they're ready to go. So it's sitting in, the active buyer is sitting in cash right now. So they may feel less wealthy when the stock market drops a couple thousand points, but
I think we all do, by the way.
They're cash ready. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we all do, by the way.
I do know that feeling, sadly, yes. But they're cash ready.
Yeah. Well, Damon, it's a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for coming on the program, and we'll look forward to talking with you again very soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Hope you found it educational and entertaining all at the same time. Hey, have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, and so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Keep on saving and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.